Now, for more on Panama's shifting foreign policy and its economic ties, let's bring in Margaret Myers. Margaret is the director of the Latin America and the World Program at Inter-American Dialogue. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Now, Margaret, the World Bank says that Panama has been one of the fastest growing economies in the world in the last decade. What do you attribute that to?
Well, Panama's economic policy has been really good over the past few years, with both domestic investment and a lot of foreign direct investment being attracted to the country, which has, led essentially to a boom in a lot of different really strategic sectors. Infrastructure being a very important one, canal-related infrastructure, but also, as was indicated in the previous segment, there's a free trade zone that's booming, and largely because of Chinese investment there. But in general, just very good and comprehensive economic policy.
And to that point, in terms of the relationship between Panama and China, how has that economic relationship progressed in recent years?
Well, it's been booming. It's been booming even before this diplomatic switch. We've seen considerable Chinese interest, specifically in foreign direct investment, as I mentioned, in the canal in particular, a lot of sort of canal-related projects. There's a major company, Costco, that's very interested in expanding and developing some of the territory around the canal, also in financial services and other major infrastructure projects. And so this is something that now with these new diplomatic relations, we might expect a little bit more of.
And in terms of what each country would ideally like to achieve, both in terms of its economic ties and bilateral trade, what do you think each side could really be looking for?
I mean, in general, I think both are looking to expand trade. And for Panama, that's key. In general, countries that are affiliated diplomatically with China as opposed to Taiwan tend to have a lot more trade and a lot more foreign direct investment from China, inward foreign direct investment, than countries that are affiliated with Taiwan. So for Panama, this is a very important economic move. For China, it's a very important diplomatic move. Obviously, Latin America and the Caribbean remains a stronghold for Taiwan. There are now 11 countries that are affiliated with Taiwan diplomatically still, but for this transition is a big deal for Beijing.
Now, let's also look at the relationship between Panama and the U.S. We saw that President Trump congratulated President Varela on the Panama Canal extension, saying this is really a key piece when it comes to American businesses and their ties with Panamanian businesses. How key is this going to be to Panama's growth and also with its trade partners going forward?
It's a very important development. The sort of post-Panamex, right, larger ships being able to go through the Panama Canal is a very big deal, a very important development. And for the U.S., it's also critical. A majority of transport through the canal is coming to and from the United States. So a very important partner for us, and a very important line of transportation.
Now, let's also take a look at some of the challenges that could perhaps be posed by what's happening in the region. We see that Venezuela's anti-government protests have been spiking ever since the economic crisis has kicked in. How do you think issues like migration and other issues linked to Venezuela could be affecting Panama, perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, this is a considerable concern for Panama, and part of what was presumably, the discussion that took place today with President Trump and with President Varela. And so, I'm not sure what those discussions consisted of, but this is a key concern, and one I think that Panama will continue to pay a lot of attention to. And certainly the situation in Venezuela is not improving.
And let's also look at Panama's progress when it comes to curbing poverty. We see that it's made a lot of progress in recent years. How does that rank, though, in terms of the other economic challenges facing the country?
Certainly, I mean, there are a lot of, there's a major sort of urban-rural disparity still in Panama. You see some very underdeveloped areas, in rural areas in particular. But Panama has made considerable advances, I think, working also with multilateral banks, such as the World Bank, to address specific developmental challenges. But yeah, I mean, reduction in poverty, especially extreme poverty, has been a major accomplishment of the government over the past few years. And then just growth in general. Panama has one of the highest growth rates, not only in the region, but in the world at the moment, somewhere in the neighborhood of 5% on an annual basis.
Certainly a country to watch. Thank you so much for your insights, Margaret Myers, Director of the Latin America and World Program at the Inter-American Dialogue.